Hello, everyone. Welcome to People News, your go-to channel for the latest updates on global affairs. Today, we'll be diving into some of the most critical stories shaping our nation and the world. Let's get started. Israeli intelligence has achieved significant victories against Hezbollah over the past year, highlighted by the recent assassination of the group's leader, Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah. This successful operation has effectively dismantled Hezbollah's top leadership and demonstrated Israel's formidable intelligence capabilities. On September 28, 2024, Israel announced that it had killed Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, Hezbollah's leader for more than 3 decades, in an airstrike involving over 80 bombs dropped on 4 apartment buildings in Lebanon. Nasrallah had gathered there to meet with his top lieutenants. This mission was executed despite initial objections from the United States, as President Joe Biden had urged Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to hold off, fearing the potential for regional escalation. However, Israel proceeded, marking a pivotal point in its campaign against Hezbollah. The death of Nasrallah not only serves as a symbolic victory, but also represents the culmination of years of meticulous intelligence work. This targeted killing follows a series of strikes aimed at dismantling Hezbollah's leadership and crippling its military capabilities. Following the 2006 war between Israel and Hezbollah, Israeli intelligence agencies identified the need to overhaul their capabilities to counteract Hezbollah and its Iranian backers. The war had ended in a stalemate, with Hezbollah quickly rebuilding its military capacity. To prevent a similar outcome in the future, Israel launched a comprehensive intelligence effort to weaken Hezbollah. The Israeli security apparatus focused on adopting an offensive approach, with Avner Galov, a former senior director at Israel's National Security Council, telling the Wall Street Journal, "The core of Israeli security doctrine is to bring the war to the enemy." This approach allowed Israel to gain the upper hand against Hezbollah, a marked difference from the defensive posture it took against Hamas in Gaza. A key component of Israel's success lies in its ability to infiltrate Hezbollah's communication networks. Following the 2006 conflict, Unit 8200, Israel's signals intelligence agency, developed cutting-edge cyber tools to intercept Hezbollah's cell phones and other communications. These efforts forced Hezbollah to switch to pagers and handheld radios, believing them to be more secure. However, the Mossad managed to plant explosives inside thousands of these devices. Earlier this month, Israel remotely detonated the pagers and radios, killing 37 Hezbollah operatives and injuring thousands more. This operation was one of many targeting Hezbollah's leadership. Earlier this year, Fuad Shukr, a senior Hezbollah commander who had eluded capture for decades, was killed by an airstrike in Beirut. Shortly after, another airstrike took out Hezbollah's top missile commander. These strikes devastated Hezbollah's ability to conduct operations and inflicted significant damage on its chain of command. The success of Israel's campaign against Hezbollah is directly tied to the country's long-term investments in its intelligence apparatus. Israeli agencies such as the Mossad and Unit 8200, working closely with international counterparts like the U.S. National Security Agency, gathered actionable intelligence on Hezbollah's activities. The geographical proximity of Lebanon also played a significant role, allowing undercover Israeli operatives to infiltrate Hezbollah strongholds for sensitive intelligence missions. Israel's audacity to carry out such operations sets it apart from traditional intelligence agencies. Chip Usher, a former top CIA Middle East analyst, told the New York Times. He noted that Israel's intelligence success in targeting Hezbollah was due to a clearly defined target deck, a willingness to take risks, and an extraordinary level of patience in executing these long-term plans. As the 2024 U.S. election reaches its critical stage, the vice presidential debate between Ohio Senator J.D. Vance and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz could play a pivotal role in determining the outcome. This debate, set for October 1st, could be one of the final major events before Election Day, adding unprecedented importance to a matchup that traditionally garners less attention. Both Vance and Walz must seize this moment to influence undecided voters, make a case for their respective campaigns, and potentially shape their own political futures. For J.D. Vance, this debate represents the biggest test of his political career to date. The Ohio senator, a former Marine and venture capitalist, rose to prominence with his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, which chronicled his upbringing in Appalachian poverty. Vance entered politics as a vocal critic of Donald Trump but shifted course to become one of Trump's most loyal allies, receiving his endorsement in a successful 2022 Senate campaign. Now, Vance is seen as a potential heir to the MAGA movement if Trump decides not to run in 2028. For Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, the debate provides a different opportunity. Relatively unknown outside his home state, Walz became more visible on the national stage after being selected by Kamala Harris as her running mate. His viral critiques of the weird Trump-Vance ticket helped raise his profile, but Walz still has work to do to introduce himself to a wider audience. Behind the scenes, both candidates have been preparing for this debate in distinct ways. According to a report from CNN, Walz has expressed anxiety about the debate, comparing his nerves to those he felt during his vice presidential interview with Kamala Harris. His debate prep sessions have involved Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg playing the role of Vance, with the goal of sharpening Walz's responses. The strategy for Walz is to largely ignore Vance during the debate and focus instead on targeting Trump, in an attempt to provoke a response from the former president. According to sources close to the preparations, Walz may also bring up a pointed question from Harris's 2020 debate prep, asking Vance what promises he made to Trump to avoid facing an angry mob, as Mike Pence did on January 6. This approach is designed to highlight Vance's alignment with Trump and create doubts about his independence. On the other hand, Vance's objective is clear: to outperform Trump's previous debate performance against Harris. The earlier debate saw Harris emerge as the ostensible winner, and Vance must prove that he can deliver a stronger showing. According to Aaron Call, the director of debate at the University of Michigan, Vance may have to clean up some of Trump's comments from the debate, adding more pressure on the Ohio senator to effectively represent the ticket. Vance's strength lies in his assertiveness and media experience. He has made regular appearances on political shows and is known for his bold, direct style. However, Vance's challenge will be to avoid coming across as overly aggressive, which could alienate undecided voters. Mark Weaver, a Republican strategist, advised that Vance should steer clear of personal attacks, such as discussing Walz's family issues, as they could backfire. The debate is likely to showcase a stark contrast between the two candidates. Vance is expected to adopt a combative stance, using his sharp rhetoric to attack the Harris-Walz ticket on issues like economic policy, immigration, and government spending. His challenge will be to tone down his more controversial tendencies while still energizing the Republican base. In contrast, Walz will likely emphasize his record as a consensus builder in Minnesota and focus on connecting with voters through personal stories and a down-to-earth approach. His folksy demeanor and emphasis on middle-class issues could resonate with voters who are still unsure about the Democratic ticket. The outcome of this debate could have broader implications for the presidential race. While vice presidential debates typically have a limited impact, the unusual circumstances of the 2024 election make this one more significant. Trump and Harris are in a tight race in key battleground states, and even a slight shift in voter perception could influence the outcome. The latest national averages from the Hill and Decision Desk HQ show Harris leading by just 4 points, underscoring how close the election remains. The debate also comes at a time when a second presidential debate appears increasingly unlikely, making this event potentially the last significant opportunity for both campaigns to sway undecided voters. For Vance, a strong performance could boost Trump's campaign and set him up as a future leader of the MAGA movement. For Walz, the debate offers a chance to reassure voters about Harris's vision for the country and to present himself as a competent and trustworthy vice presidential candidate. Mark Zuckerberg, once known for his vocal support of progressive causes, appears to be shifting his approach to politics. According to sources, Zuckerberg has held private conversations with former President Donald Trump over the summer, potentially signaling an effort to rebuild their relationship. While Zuckerberg has publicly stepped away from political controversies, the New York Times reports that he held 2 private phone conversations with Trump over the summer. The first call took place during the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, where Trump thanked Zuckerberg after he expressed his support following an assassination attempt. Shortly afterward, Zuckerberg contacted Trump again to apologize for Meta's accidental removal of images related to the assassination attempt that were circulating online. These conversations suggest an attempt by Zuckerberg to repair his relationship with Trump, despite their previously tense interactions. In recent years, Zuckerberg has reduced his public involvement in political activities. A decade ago, he actively supported issues like immigration reform and social justice, creating philanthropic organizations and investing in these causes. However, his political activities have drawn criticism from both sides, leading him to change course. Sources indicate that Zuckerberg has grown increasingly disillusioned with political engagement, which has resulted in more scrutiny for Meta. In response, Zuckerberg has pulled back from political activities, limiting partisan involvement within his philanthropy and reducing employee activism at Meta. Zuckerberg has been quietly reconnecting with key figures, including Trump, despite his public disengagement. After facing criticism from conservatives regarding past donations, Zuckerberg hired a Republican strategist to improve his standing with right-wing officials and media. According to the New York Times, the private discussions with Trump suggest a strategic attempt to mend relationships behind closed doors. This effort aligns with a broader trend in Silicon Valley, where executives have distanced themselves from public political engagement to avoid controversy. At 53, Elon Musk seems to be feeling the pressure of time, slipping away on his mission to colonize Mars. His recent updates emphasize the narrow opportunities left to achieve interplanetary travel in his lifetime, given that favorable alignment between Earth and Mars happens only once every 26 months. Musk recently shared that SpaceX's giant Starship will attempt uncrewed Mars missions within 2 years, during the next launch window. If these landings are successful, the first crewed flights could take place 4 years later. However, many experts, such as University of Texas aerodynamics professor Christopher Combs, are skeptical. Combs suggests to the Wall Street Journal that it could take another 15 to 20 years for human trips to Mars to become technically feasible. For Musk, the mission to make humanity a multiplanetary species is driven by his belief that it is essential for long-term survival. However, there are numerous challenges yet to be resolved. Ensuring successful landings, providing life support for months-long journeys, and planning for a return trip. Peter Haig, a space travel analyst, sees Musk's timeline for sending humans as overly ambitious but believes that unmanned missions could be achievable by 2029. Musk acknowledges that the timeline for crewed missions may face delays, depending on the challenges encountered. According to the Wall Street Journal, Musk's vision doesn't stop at landing humans on Mars. He aims to establish a self-sustaining colony, capable of making everything from rocket fuel to food. In 2020, he outlined plans for building 100 starships annually and eventually launching 1,000 ships, each capable of carrying around 100 people, every orbital alignment. Under this scenario, millions of people could be transported to Mars over a period of 20 years. However, Musk has expressed concern about the current pace of progress. Despite previously estimating that it could take 40 to 100 years to establish a self-sustaining city, he now claims it might be achievable in just 20 years. Faced with these challenges, Musk has been vocal about regulatory delays, including criticizing the Federal Aviation Administration. He has also hinted that political outcomes could impact his plans, warning that Mars ambitions may not materialize if Vice President Kamala Harris wins the upcoming election. With the clock ticking, Musk's drive to conquer Mars becomes increasingly urgent, a cosmic midlife crisis for humanity's richest man. That's all for today's edition of People News. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future updates. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you next time.